Welcome to Sports Guy Talking. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am joined by guest Shawn Davisson today to talk about the decline of interest in terms of college football ratings. The game of college football is still interesting to the diehards, but the casual fan, it has seemed to lose interest in that regard. We are going to break down the reasons as to why interest in college football has declined over the years. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. Why have college football ratings dropped over the years?
I have three main reasons. I'm gonna give my first one real quick, and I'm gonna see what you think about it. My first reason is because of the transfer portal. It's hard for casual fans to keep up with some of their favorite teams. I mean, a lot of people. There's probably a lot of Florida fans out there that don't even know that their starting quarterback last year is at Arizona State now because they're focused on their new starter Anthony Richardson and stuff. And it's just hard for people to keep up with their own teams, hard for them to, relate to players if they might just leave pretty soon. So that's my first reason. What do you think?
I 100% agree with you. Just the constant change. And I know somebody's going to say, well, but the NFL, they change players all the time. But college football, as we know, the way they do their system, it's been very different. For an entire generation before us, they used to have players that stayed there 4 or 5 years. Now you got players that are in and out in like 1 year or less, or, they're always in and out. And it's just kind of hard to keep up. And it's like, man, can we even remember the names? I mean, yeah, the diehards, they'll keep up no matter what because they're interested in it. But for the casual fan, it's like, hold up, I thought he was just playing for Florida. What's he now doing at Arizona State, like you were just saying? So that's what I got to say. What's your next reason?
Yeah, man, for sure. And I'd just like to mention people who say like the NFL is like that. It's not. A lot of people transfer after their freshman year. And in the NFL, they get drafted and they have multi-year contracts out of the draft, and then they sign long-term deals. Yes, they can request trades or things like that, but that's a lot smaller than the amount of people who are entering the transfer portal. Reason number two, I'm just gonna go with same teams making it every year. You look at Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. They're making it every year. They're winning it every year. And in order for to see a big boost in college football playoff ratings, and specifically, you need to see a team like USC, Miami, or Texas make it. And I'm not picking it to happen, but say one of those teams, maybe two of them, even made it this year. I mean, there's going to be a lot of viewership. Those teams have crazy fan bases, and they just haven't been what they've been recently. So you look back at 2017 Miami when they had the turnover chain popping and they were doing really good. And you take a look at that team, and views for that team were high. Like they thought they were going to make the playoffs and do really good. And they've ended up losing their final two games, but they killed Notre Dame that year, and so viewership was high for them that year. And so there, you look at that, and if one of those three big market teams that haven't been good and get good again, you're looking at some boosted viewings.
And I also say this as well. We need to see some surprise teams in there. There's nothing more than seeing a surprise team that casual fans want to go ahead and see. You see in the NFL with them Cinderella stories that happen from time to time. College football, especially in this generation, that seems to be kind of missing. I know somebody's going to say, well, but the 2019 LSU Tigers, but those were like once every year in a blue moon. You look at teams like Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, they repeat the same teams every year. And if they're not repeating the same teams because there's a different winner in the conference, they're going to be like, oh, the conference is weak. They're not really true legitimate contenders. We need to see a true Cinderella story rise up to the occasion. Like you said, USC, Miami, they need to go ahead, step up their game. So we need to see some Cinderella stories, get some change, because in the college football players, it's getting entirely too predictable in terms of who will make it. Because even somebody that knows very little about college football could just say, oh, Bama's probably going to win the title game again. Oh, you could probably say Georgia's probably going to finish second in the SEC. Oh, you could probably say that Clemson, they're going to cruise through the ACC. It's kind of getting ridiculous at this point. I mean, honestly, the games are just being played for foreplay. There's like no real drama within it. Occasionally, there is something that kind of changes within the storyline. But for a league that's trying to profit off a ton of money, it's way too predictable. They need to get that fixed. Let's see how that's going to happen. So that's one of the main reasons why I think that college football has declined over the years in terms of interest.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you with the Cinderella teams, but Cincinnati, the diehards really love seeing Cincinnati in there. But the casual fan, they're like, oh, well, I don't really know too much about them. So if a Cinderella team does make it, it has to be a team with a big fan base. You can't just, it's not like March Madness where there's a lot of teams and a lot of rounds, a lot of games. This is, 2 games in the first round, one championship game. So it's got, Cincinnati. I'd love to see him back in there, but I'm not sure how many people would. It's got to be a team like Texas, USC, a big market team. You can maybe find a small team with a really big fan base out there, but as far as like those teams go, you just got to look for a big market if you want viewership to go up. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip to my third and final reason. It's becoming a lot like the NFL with players, now making a lot of earnings, and recruiting is more like free agency. Whoever makes the highest bid, you're going to go to that team. You're going to pick to watch the NFL. The NFL is just, better, faster, well coached teams overall compared to college football. And so if you want to watch a professional sport, you might as well just go to the NFL, because what made college football unique and really fun in the past really just hasn't stuck around as much, and casuals don't really care for that too much.
Yeah, college football used to be a lot more organic in terms of team building. Now it's whoever has the most money, they're going to go ahead, get those recruits. Anybody that's been following college football, they know that recruiting, that's how you win them games in college football. And something else that I'm going to point out that I didn't think that you necessarily pointed out, it's also because of the NFL in terms of how they call their plays now. Because the thing about college football and the NFL, what it used to be like 10, 15 years ago, it used to be a whole different game. College, it used to be more spread out, it used to be more of a spread out offense, and it was just heavily reliant on offense and skill players. While the NFL is more of physicality, play great defense, and have a great special teams. But now that the NFL has become more like college football in terms of their schemes, now it's basically the same thing between watching college football and the NFL. I mean, when you're looking at film of college football offenses and NFL offenses, for some of these teams, you might even say, what's the difference? You can't tell the difference. And if you can't tell the difference, you're always going to want to watch the product. That's the best one. And the NFL is always going to be superior to college football over that in that regard, because the NFL, they just have better athletes, better players, and better coaches all around. So that's why college football, that has also seemed to kind of tank down in ratings. So let me go ahead and wrap this up. What do you think college football can do in order to get back major interest and get the ratings to spike up again? What do you think they're going to have to do?
This is an easy answer for me. So here's why people don't watch as much anymore. We talked about this earlier, but you see the same teams winning it over and over. You look at Alabama, and let's just use them for example. They're favorite to win it this year. They won their conference last year. They almost won national championship last year. They've been winning it a lot recently. So let's use them as an example. Alabama is not a high school rich state for talent. It's got good talent. It doesn't have unbelievable talent. You know where they get most of their talent? They get most of their talent from Florida. And now you have Mario Cristobal, who's a great recruiter. Him and Billy Napier at Florida, who's a new coach there, and Mike Norvell at Florida State. If they can start locking down the state and preventing players from leaving to go to Alabama and Georgia and places like that, then that's going to make Alabama worse and those teams better. And you look at out on the West Coast, USC has not been keeping the Southern California talent. And if they can do that, then, it prevents all these other teams from getting it. And if you look at Texas, if Texas and Texas A&M, and maybe even Texas Tech with their new coach, they're recruiting pretty well. If you look at those teams, if they can lock down the state of Texas a little more, then it prevents teams like Ohio State, where Ohio doesn't have high school rich talent. Then, places like that, if those teams get better, then it's going to make the entire top end talent a little weaker, and the landscape's going to be a little more even. So that's what I think it's going to take to make college football, ratings go up again.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. In order for college football ratings to go up, recruiting has to be more equally divided, as to a better phrase for that. That means that if you're USC, you got to lock down talent from your home state. If you're Florida, you got to lock down talent from your home state. If you're Texas, you definitely got to lock down talent from your home state, because Texas, we know they're high school rich. There's no reason for Texas to not be in the top 5 in recruiting year in and year out, as long as they put themselves, in a decent position, because Texas, their high school programs, they're far more ahead than everybody else. We know how it is in there. So I feel like teams, they have to get better at recruiting in-state. Don't focus so much out of state. Focus on in-state recruiting. I feel like that's where they got to go in order for it to really make college football parity better over the years, or at least make college football ratings go up. So that's just kind of where I'm at. All right, well, thanks for being on the show, bro. Appreciate you coming on here. All right, Shawn Davisson got Instagram and Twitter. All right, so make sure you follow his Instagram at Shawn.Davisson. He also has a Twitter account. It's at Shawn Davisson too. All right, go ahead and follow him on both of those accounts. All right, appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Love talking college football. Love being on the show.
Yeah, definitely. All right, see ya, bro.
Yep, see ya.
Yup, bye. That was Shawn Davisson that you guys just heard. All right, so he gave 3 reasons why college football ratings have dipped down over the years. I agree with him 100%. He also gave suggestions as to how college football could be fixed in terms of their ratings. I also agree with him on that as well. Look, these teams like Miami, USC, Texas, they got to get better at recruiting in state. As long as they can fix that, then college football could possibly be saved in terms of parity and ratings. So that's kind of where we're at. So that is why college football ratings have dropped over the years. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking. Like the video and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.